FNRad is presented by Flojoy water, which is purified by granite rocks. Flojoy, a true gift of nature, and Chris Roach. And Essential Toothpaste Tablets, travel-ready, eco-friendly toothpaste your taste buds will enjoy. Wired Snowboards factory in Vancouver builds high-quality custom snowboards for about the same price as other brands' regular boards. I've created several one-of-a-kind wired customs, including a Chase 162 that's seen hundreds of my best powder days. Get yourself a game-changing snowboard and join the Wired team with Devin Walsh, Sasha Daly, and many others. Wired Snowboards. For more information, go to wiredsnowboards.com. Fixed bindings are FNRad. The comfort, performance, and quality of fixed bindings stokes me out every time I snowboard. Their commitment to making bindings that work amazingly and give you no issues puts Fix ahead of other binding brands. It's just that simple. Buy Fix bindings at an authorized dealer or go to fixbindingco.com. Bluebird Coffee Tuning and Rentals in Squamish is the coolest new stop on your way to Whistler. Bluebird offers quality board tunes using state-of-the-art equipment, premium rentals for every level of rider with demos of Burton step-ons, and award-winning coffee and incredible smoothies. For a blend of expert knowledge, convenience, and lots of charm, stop by Bluebird in Squamish and get your board tuned at the newest mandatory stop on your way to Whistler. Anon snow goggles enhance and protect your vision with unmatched optical clarity. Anon's Magnatech quick lens change technology allows you to swap lenses with ease. All Anon goggles are engineered to deliver no fog days and pair perfectly with Anon helmets and MFI magnetic face masks. Get yourself the best goggles at an authorized Anon dealer near you. Support also comes from our friends at the Boardroom Snowboard Shop. Check out boardroomshop.com and use code FNRAD10 for 10% off regular priced items and FNRAD5 for 5% off sale items. 1910, the collaborative artworks of Jaime Lynn and Scof. FNRad 20 saves you 20% off at 1910.com. New Greens, the superfood green drink sourced from American farms. Use code FNRAD for 20% off at newgreens.com. I want to thank DeKine Snowboard outerwear, travel bags, and backpacks, Rip Curl's Anti-Series outerwear, and our friends at Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, and Cypress Mountain for their support. This week on FNRad, I'll be bringing you the top 5 of the top 10 moments of the first 10 years of the show. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, no problem. I'm recounting my personal favorite moments from FNRad's first 10 years. Last week were moments 10 through 6, and before we start on number 5, I'll tell you some related moments that were runners-up. Like the time I met Jeffrey Fulton at Mount Baker. I've talked about this one a lot because there was something magical about the way he turned that caught my eye. I knew he was someone important in snowboarding. I introduced myself, and it was possibly the first friendship created by doing the show. Riding with guests is one of the main reasons I do FNRad, and riding with Fulton, Bass, and such a long list of pros at the Legends of Tahoe last year was incredible. He's one of the people that influenced snowboarding a lot. Anytime I talk with Jeffrey, it's fucking rad.
And now that I'm 64, I'm getting older. I get more, you get more set in your ways, and I'm not physically able to do some of the things I used to be able to do. I mean, I'm still okay at a lot of stuff, but, so that whole idea or that whole dream of working your life away for retirement, to me, is just not, it doesn't add up. It really doesn't add up. It's like, it's fine to work and make money and have savings, but you have to live now, because there's no guarantees,
That's true.
And I think that's what snowboarding is good. It is because it's when you are snowboarding, you're in the now. You're living. You're in the moment, and everything else just kind of goes away.
The Hatchet brothers have both done the show. Riding with Dave and Mike and their friends Dave Downing, Corey Octoon, and Kevin Jones is one of my favorite memories of my life. Dave and Mike are identical twins, and conversations with either of them get me pumped up.
To come across on film and to look on film is totally different than, obviously way different than stills, because you can just cheat stills. Anyone can pose a shot, you have to stick it on film. I mean, you pretty much have to you have to come into the line fluidly, or the jump, whatever you're going to hit, and you have to stomp the line, or it's not a keeper.
If you're on an untracked powder run, you're just going to kind of carve back, left, right. Maybe I'm going to slalom, maybe I'm going to GS, maybe I'm going to super G, maybe I'm going to point it. But you're just kind of like linking these like even turns. Whereas riding that crud is more about like spur of the moment, smear turn, slalom turn, GS, point it, bunny, moto. It's just like, it's just happening so fast. And that's what I just love about it. It's like this like crazy, like, it's just, every run's different and you just never know what to expect.
What was your favorite time?
If I had to pick one favorite time, it would be Alaska between 1995 and 2000.
Yeah.
It was just like the Wild West. Like you could fly anywhere you want. So we had our private heli for a month, right, and our cabin was right there, and we had we had a chef cooking all of our 3 meals a day, sack lunch, hot breakfast, hot dinner, and there was the bar down there on the pool table, and we would just fly around the Chugach and film and shred powder for a month every year and just free ride our brains out.
Eric Blem, former editor of Transworld Snowboarding and the author of The Darkest White, was kind enough to give me the very first interview when his book came out. Eric's an award-winning writer, and if you haven't read The Darkest White, pause the show and go read it right now. We rode together at Big Bear and did the interview in his family's cabin up there. He's such an OG.
You could have given him that montage of just like, boom, 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 this is Rocky hitting meat, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like in the ring. But right, I felt you need more than that, right?
Yeah.
You need to see what he went through. And I really wanted to give readers, both the current the generation who knows Craig Kelly and the general reader, like a sense of what it takes for him. And in another sense, to understand what mountain guides do to become a mountain guide and have someone else's life in their hands, and understand how great Craig would have been in that. So I ultimately had to cut a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was painful to cut it, and I hope to use bits and pieces of it in like articles.
I got to ride with Nico when I drove to Banff to interview Terrier. Later, when Nico was in Vancouver for a premiere, we went out for French fries with Justin Hostenek. I wanted to ask Nico to redo his episode that we'd recorded the night before in Whistler, but I was too scared. Nico kind of went off on some non-snowboard related tangents. A few months later, he lost his sponsors and has been riding off the grid since. We all await his return. It's going to be epic.
We haven't even talked about snowboarding, really. But
it's true.
I mean, one more thing
yes,
I just thought
please.
about, I think it's Rudolf Steiner who said that we will come to a point that our brain can no longer process the things, that with our technology. And I think it's already, we're at the point with the smartphones and the internet, and faster. It's not good.
It takes something away.
But anyway, should we talk about snowboarding for a little bit?
All right, yeah.
Or so let's just go snowboarding.
Yeah, that's
even
almost
better.
Tom Shea telling the absolutely radical story was amazing.
I remember, I would get calls from Jake in the middle of the night, and he's Jake. I mean, he's the leader of our industry.
Yeah.
And he would really give me a hard time. He would obviously had read the last edition of the magazine, and he'd say, "Tom, there's way too many people in the air." And and he was,
thank you for sharing that.
I mean,
right.
He's conscious about like growing the sport from this like very big global perspective of like mountain managers. He's the one who even told me that no mountain manager wants anything absolutely radical on the mountain.
That's amazing.
And I kind of
what a quote.
I changed the name of the magazine to International Snowboard Magazine the next issue because I was like, okay, I'm going to get with the program. Jake's been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Way longer than I have. And I want to be part of this revolution. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to screw it up either, right? Because it was a balance of let's do us right as best we can.
Yeah.
But let's also show them that we can be reasonable patrons.
Totally.
Responsible individuals.
A market.
And a real market.
We are a market.
To grow this so more people can enjoy this joy that we have.
Yeah.
And really I felt like that's what we were all in it for.
As was Al Clark taking me catboarding. Thank you, Al. Ken Ock calling me a friend at the end of our first episode was awesome. And the number 5 top moment from the first 10 years of FNRad was when Jaime Lynn took a lap with Brad Hepner, Dave Wally, Phil Rhimes, and myself at the Baker Bank Slalom. Jamie hit this epic Baker kicker and threw a proper Jamie method. All our jaws dropped, and it was a magical moment. Jamie's just the raddest guest ever.
You know, it was like I knew that if I went off switch and did a cab 5, my back would be to the consequence 80% of the jump.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was more of like, it wasn't so much like, hey, I got this gnarly crew, I'm not just going to hit a fucking straight air. It was more like, if I hit a straight air, I'm going to be looking at that fucking road gap the whole time, and I'm going to be scared of this fucking, it'll freak me out.
I love that you
But
turn
if
your
I
back
went
to
in
it.
and hooked my toes and put my back to it, and then when I opened up, I'd have cleared it. It was just more of like just a survival instinct of like what needed to happen to get from point A to point B.
Amazing.
And then after we figured out that the speed was right, the jump was right, the landing was good, then the session progressed.
There's been a lot of loss in snowboarding. When Olivia Kelly, Craig's daughter, hopped on the mic at the no-show years ago, it was an extra special moment. Craig's passing left the entire snowboard world in shock. In a lot of ways, things have always been different ever since. Jeff Keenan. Oh, man. Recording with Jeff Keenan at Crystal's cabin was rad. I honestly listened to our conversation the night after I heard he'd been killed in an avalanche, and it felt so good to hear his voice. He was one of the most positive pro snowboarders ever, and he's dearly missed.
So we're here to like be a part of the community and build this community and like help out anyone and everyone, and that's like the key to having snowboarding keep evolving the way we wanted to. I have my way of riding,
right,
which is like my way, and like I'm not like claiming anything or anything, and I get on a mountain and all I see is like hits, because I'm from Seymour and it's like side hits everywhere, so all I see hits. So I'm just like going as fast as I fucking can, and I'm hitting something left, right, center, like deking through trees, finding like a tree to jump off, going straight to a cliff from there, linking things up. Like that's how I look at it, like a mini training skate park, and I want to hit everything all the way to the bottom.
Snowboarding lost its autonomy when the Fédération Internationale du Ski took over as the governing body of snowboarding in the Olympics. Bertrand Devernaud explained being there when this happened.
I had dinner with Gianfranco Casper 1-to-1.
Wow.
Where he was saying, well, I'm going to pay for dinner. We can chat quickly about snowboarding, ISF and FIS. Basically, we will invest until you die. So this is how much about cooperation we can talk. And now let's have dinner.
Wow. Not everyone who's been lost has passed away. Ethan Forche, Eastone, left the Bombhole podcast when his heroin addiction got in the way of him co-hosting the show. After trying rehab and starting his own snowboard podcast, the beloved best banter brother has vanished from the snowboard community completely.
I was able to come up with a system, and I think part of it was because I was young. Mm-hmm. Your body is a little more resilient. Mm-hmm. And it didn't always work. Sometimes I'd end up getting sick, and I had to deal with that, and it sucked. It's like the worst thing you've ever dealt with. It's just fully down low.
Yeah.
Just my wife and I, and that would be it.
Yeah, so you didn't have to lie to your wife here when it's here.
Yeah, because that would have ended shit probably way quicker. Someone you're sleeping with in the same bed, they're going to figure that out. And so do it in the morning and then do it at night, or like right when you get in when it gets dark. And then once right before bed, like 3 times a day. And then I just wouldn't get sick. And that was just the goal. It's like, Bill, I can't get sick. I have a job to do.
Yeah.
And that works eventually, and then it doesn't. Because heroin is a fucking hard word.
It's a hard word.
It's a word that is, unfortunately, for the heroin addicts, it's a word that puts them in a different category. And I guess I'm here talking about it because, one, I know there's other people out there. And, there's help. And we'll get into that. You would have never known because I was normal.
Kevin Bakota went MIA nearly 20 years before resurfacing in a Winnebago in North Vancouver. His stories of his adventures, his time on Shark Tank, and all the work he put into Bakota were the focus of his FNRad episode.
So even when I make jokes about, like, I'm a loser, I'm an idiot, in tarot cards, the very first card, which is number 0, is the Fool. Because the 0, the Fool, there's nothing to protect. There's nothing to, like, it's always starting from nothing. So what can you take away from me when I'm already nothing?
And Keith Duckboy Wallace left snowboarding to be a teleskier. Seeing him show up at Mount Baker Banked in his Burton leather jacket was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I feel like I found something lost when the fourth top moment of the first 10 years of FNRad happened. Quinn Sandvold lived a short distance from several of my Boulder, Colorado guests. I was so stoked to meet him and get his voice on the show. It really felt like I was arriving at his home 30 years after his pro career to tell him that he still has snowboarding fans. Here's a moment from that show.
I've had 2 pretty serious concussions, one in 2016 and one again this year, 2021.
Holy shit.
That were life-changing. I mean, left me with impairments, permanent impairments, and some of which are spatial impairments, so riding the trees is not an option anymore. A lot of different visual things that make snowboarding very different for me. It's really cool to sort of be back in a really learning.
Yeah, welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
It's been too long.
It has?
Yeah, 19 years is too long for Quinn Sandvold not to be fucking a part of this community. Because your inspiration's still 100% there, man.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, and just trying to stay within my limits. I'm not doing anything extraordinary.
Right.
But again, from nothing to something is great. And then, I'm just
so glad you're back at it, dude.
It's been good.
Yeah.
My passion to
really
to keep me here is the outdoors and and that, survival instinct and wanting to explore and be outdoors and enjoy all it has to offer, truly.
Yeah. And I think I'm hearing here, like, there's an exponential, there's a multiplier for head injury survivors on risk for suicides, like for like gnarly thinking, like it happens. Am I right on that? Or are you saying here in Colorado because there's so much stuff here?
What you said,
was
I'm really glad that you actually said that, because I think it's so overlooked, even among mental health professionals, as you bring it up, and there's just no understanding.
Over the 10 years of FNRad, the main theme has been the humans of snowboarding. Meeting Russell Winfield at his house in Washington, where he played music with Mike LeBlanc way back in season 2, that they, Shout the People, let me use in the show, was one of the first times I met super famous snowboard pros doing their thing off the snow. Todd Franzen helping people navigate cancer diagnosis and treatment is a big memory for me. We really met from different sides of an opinion and came together in the end. I'm proud of that.
And to be able to talk about it, I guarantee you we have different opinions about stuff and different beliefs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, to have, a civil discourse and just to have a little bit of respect that, like, maybe each person's experience in their lives has led them to their beliefs of this, know, and you cannot deny their experiences.
When looking into what happened to Terrier got me in touch with the person whose email got him fired, I had a moment where I stopped being mad at Sam Bertolino after hearing her side of what happened. It was the one time my son was on the show, so it's a very proud dad moment.
And, what are you doing about what I just said besides asking me to speak up more, put in my input more? Because, you just got emotional, and it's good to get emotional about things that affect other people. And it's, even harder when it affects you. And when you're at your job, you're just trying to do your job and you're being put in these positions where, you know, you have to speak up and you lose focus. You know, it was very hard for me to have those kinds of conversations and then get back to my desk and start putting things in Excel or whatever I was doing. And it was a bummer, honestly.
Mike Rankwitz's reaction to my episode with Sam was absolutely wild.
Here's what Eric had to say in a message to me.
She told me several times that what happened to him was not what she wanted to happen, and not what should have happened. The divide between the two sides seems exaggerated and perpetuated by language shortcuts and assumptions.
It's odd that he sounds like a fucking computer voice now. It's really weird. You know, I don't want to rip into Eric because I think he's a good guy. I just think he, you know, it was like the first time kind of like touching, you know, sitting at the big boys table. And he fucked up, dude. He really did. She came in and made gender neutral boards, which is the dumbest shit in the fucking world. It's a paint job, bitch. Like, really? Yeah, what if, you know, there's a guy out there that's 140 pounds or a girl? Who fucking cares? I don't know. Fucking let them figure it out. Wow, the people kind of like the making up of the industry, they're not like some hardcore snowboarders that you might see out on a ridgeline one day hiking, you know, like say, like, Donna, what the fuck are you doing? Seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
Over 90% of the listeners of this show are men, according to my stats from Apple, Spotify, or wherever. Out of 250 episodes, I don't even think I've had 10% women guests. A listener, Joe, who we rode with yesterday, explained a lot of times he skips the women guests and then joked he thought he was a bad person. The past 10 years has been an absolute explosion of women snowboarding. Jess Camira has been saying for years that if there was real support, there would be real growth. Her uninvited films and events have changed the face of snowboarding forever and brought so many talented female snowboard professionals into the snowboard realm. She also helped educate me on the continued oppression women face, which has helped me immensely with the women in my life.
Do you ever think that those numbers are low because girls aren't listening to the podcast because they don't see themselves reflected there?
Yeah, no, that would 100% be the reason. People often ask for Victoria. Victoria is the most requested guest that I haven't been able to get a hold of.
You always want what you can't have.
And people will kind of go off being like, but she had the best turn, and she was like a sex symbol in snowboarding. You know, like she was great. She's good. She's talented, 100%. And her footage alongside those guys at that time was significant. It was good. It was easy to watch. But
so for you, it was easy to watch, and to other people like, say, Annie Boulanger or Marie Francois, or people who have like really pushed the limits in the backcountry.
Yeah.
It was everything.
Oh, I love that you just said that. See, I would never have thought of it that way.
It doesn't even matter. Like, even back in the day, like, it didn't even matter if they kind of sucked. I was just like eating it up. I couldn't get enough. Like, I would try to go to all the shops and get all the different catalogs from the different companies, because they weren't putting a lot of girls in the magazines, but they're always like in their women's section, there'd be like 1 or 2 photos of a girl on their team. That's how bad I wanted it.
That's so dope that you're saying this, because I wouldn't have even... I wouldn't have put that together.
And when you say like she was a sex symbol, when I look back, I don't feel like she was a sex symbol. I mean, the companies marketed those chicks a certain way. It was that or don't have a career. You know I would love for all you guys to just, I don't know, spend the first 10, 13, 14 years of your life as a girl.
Right.
And when you get like all of that programming added up.
Right.
It's not the same.
Of course it's not.
And you're starting from a whole completely different set of circumstances. We just want to be here and have a chance. We don't want like every single thing that you guys have.
Blackbird Court Larrabee sharing his life story in season 8 is a moment I'll never forget. Such vulnerability and acceptance. I truly love that guy.
the Anishinaabe people that I'm a part of, like, have always been like keen in fashion. Like that's where beadwork comes from. This is like, well, primarily like where sweat lodges and things originate. But it's like, I saw my Gramps and I'm like, oh, Gramps is looking fly. Gramps used to like, his name's actually Chief Thunderbird. Like he's a very, very powerful and beautiful human. He'd always modeled himself after like Elvis back in the day. So when I saw like old Chief Thunderbird, he had like swooping awesome hair, and he had this like plush leather jacket with fur came at the top, and I was like, Gramps, looking fly. I really like that jacket. And in saying that, if you were to say like, hey, I like this or like that, they'll give it to you literally off their back. They're like, oh, this is like this is a sign for me to pass this forward to you. And unbeknownst to me, the next time I saw him, he was just like, here you go. This is for you. I was going to give it to you at the time, but I didn't have a jacket to go home with. So I was just almost like, no, Gramps, no, that's not what I meant. Right. But it was that understanding of like, you know, the money value, and it's not about that to the former generations. And that was a big learning experience for me. And that was something that we bonded on immediately.
When Black Lives Matter really hit our Instagram feeds, I felt the need to do something more than just post a black square. So I reached out to Russell Winfield in a phone call that would eventually become the Plug Podcast. Russell interviewing people of culture from inside the snowboard community and out. I audio engineered the first few episodes and listened to Salema Masekela, Keir Dillon, Stevie Bell, and Spencer O'Brien discussing what it's like to be snowboarders. Something changed in me over the course of the Plug Podcast. My life is on a different trajectory now, and that's why The Plug with Russell is the third top moment of the first 10 years of FNRad.
You had a 2-page spread. I think you're on the Fat Albert board doing a board slide.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Uh-huh.
It was like an iconic photo in an iconic photo issue. And that was the first time that I saw a black snowboarder. And I just remember opening up the magazine. I hadn't seen a video part of you yet. And just being like, I worked at Transworld at the time, and I was like, yo.
just fist pumping, proverbially.
Literally, I was like, I probably like yelled in the inside of Transworld, being like, yo!
Yeah.
Did you see this? And people were like, yeah, we know who that is. It was the biggest moment for me. I cut them out, spread out carefully with an X-Acto knife, taped it together, and put it up in my cube. They didn't stand in the lift lines with us and endure the ridicule.
Yeah.
And endure the laughing, endure the what are you doing here? They didn't endure or hear any of that stuff for the entirety of their growing up doing the thing that they loved. They just went and they did it and had a blast.
Yeah.
They didn't sit behind their goggles, seething underneath their goggles as they looked at that person who they could see was looking at them with like disgust and why you'd hear, and feel what it was like to want to just rail off and punch that person in the face.
Yeah.
And we were so happy to be there that we sucked it up and we only talked about it amongst each other.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
How do you feel about them, Colin? And what's your response with what's happening?
It's kind of a mixed emotion thing, because it's like, if I haven't talked to you in a long time and now you reach out to me just to see how I'm doing, it's kind of like, what the fuck? Why the fuck are you reaching out to me just to see how I'm doing? I mean, just because you see all this shit going on, do you feel bad because you might have taken part of this at some point in your life where you've been racist to somebody? You know, why are you reaching out to me? And it's kind of weird. It's like, dude, I'm good, and I love your answer. It's like, I'm the same as I fucking was before this happened. You know, I'm doing me. But then again, it's like some of the homies that reach out to me who I haven't talked to in a long time, it's good to hear from, because I know their true intentions. You know what I mean? Like, I got a good example. Pat Moore reached out to me and wanted to do a post, but wanted to get my permission to kind of include my name, and we had a good conversation about it. That I respected. It was dope to hear from, because I know his true intentions. And then there's just some random people who reach out to me. I'm like, dude, thank you for reaching out, because I respect everybody, and you know, maybe it's, and then again, I got to take it from another perspective. Maybe maybe they really want to reach out because they genuinely feel like, holy shit, this is crazy, man. Maybe I want to reach out to my friends, make sure they're doing okay. And that's another way to look at it. So I don't mean to, I'm not calling anybody out saying, like, don't reach out to me, because that's not it at all. But sometimes it just kind of feels funny, if you will. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, well, why are you really reaching out, man? Do you feel bad, or are you really trying to find out what's going on, or why are you reaching out to me just right now, you know?
Yeah.
My whole life I've struggled to feel normal. I've really had a hard time accepting myself as I am. I got into skateboarding and snowboarding because I identified with being an outsider. I saw a world that was wider than the narrow view of mainstream society, and I wanted that for myself and my kids. So you could say I've been working on my personal mental wellness since I was a kid. Some of my favorite moments of my life have been breakthroughs I've had as a result of this effort. FNRad put me in touch with so many rad people who may have also felt like outsiders. Their perspectives informed my journey for self-acceptance. One of my favorites was Steve Larosiliere talking about how giving is a shortcut to happiness.
If people knew that the real cheat code to life is helping other people, more people would do it.
Yeah.
By helping other people, you help yourself in a way that you never, ever would think.
Right.
It's like telling the universe that, like, hey, I deserve more because I have so much to give that I'm going to get more.
Dano Pendergrassi originally passed on doing the show. Once we got talking, though, it was on. One time, he even probably saved my life.
There's a genetic component to this, you know, like that you can... Would I have been better if I never drank and you know, and jogged? Probably. Would it have happened anyways? Probably.
Right.
So, you know, you can't outrun the genetic part of your life. That's part of you know, your burden. So go and get your blood checked. It's
yeah.
easy. It's easy.
I'm setting it. I'm doing a doctor thing.
Do it.
And
blood panel is so simple.
Blood
Just
panel.
like, hey, I want to check my cholesterol, and they'll be like, go. I can go on. Have been getting it done at Life Labs, and so you get your thing, you go in there, and then you sign up on their website, and I can see all my blood levels.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I see it before the doctor does.
Yeah. Roberta Roger, or Roberta Walker, as she's known post-pro career, had the craziest uphill battle after being crushed by a truck a few blocks away from her home in Encinitas. Hearing that she was miraculously healing in a way no doctor would have expected was a shock. Getting to interview her for FNRad was just amazing. Her resilience is one of the most superhuman things I've seen in real life.
And I still don't remember the collision, you know, and because I was riding my bicycle. This was like literally basically in front of our house. But I took the grill of a truck to my back.
Oh.
And then flew, and you know, and I had lights, I had a helmet, I had all this stuff on, and then I was in a coma for a month, and during that time I had 2 skull surgeries, 2 back surgeries, because I thought I had accepted what had happened to me, because I had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, I can't change what happened to me. Like, I got hit by a truck. Like, I can't change that. I have these injuries. I can't change that. So in my mind, I thought that was acceptance. Like, I was like, oh, that's acceptance of what happened to me.
Kind of it's a first step.
Yeah, and because of that, I was like, well, there's no reason to be sad about it. I can't change it.
Oh, that's not acceptance.
No, totally.
Right.
I can't change it. There's no reason to be sad about it. I'm just gonna do what I do.
Yeah.
Keep trucking forward. And then 4 years later, I was like, kind of started to realize, I started to get sad. Because I was like, oh, it's not my mental health. I've been to the Haven so many times. I've worked through so many things. I work with a neuropsychologist. Like, this must be physical, but really it was. Like, I had gotten to a point where I couldn't shove down that emotion of don't be sad, right? And that came up, and in that, my grief of like, life as I knew it is actually over, you know? And I worked through a lot of that grief, and in that I was like, oh, got to what my core, what I was grieving the most, and that was missing moments, my confidence, and community. And I can still have all those three things.
Absolutely.
Just differently,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Like I can create new moments.
Probably the most vulnerable story I recorded was with George Pappas in his home in Boulder. As he told it, I witnessed the transformative power of acceptance, in my opinion. George came back from the brink of total self-destruction by focusing on healing childhood trauma, taking responsibility for his actions, and living in the service of others.
Toxic shame of telling myself that I'm a bad person.
Right.
You know, that my core doesn't deserve this and is a bad person because of what I've done.
Right.
And blaming myself for it, you know, and that's the difference between shame and guilt, is that shame says I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Guilt says I've done something bad. And you know, add that to being a 30-year-old with the emotional intelligence of a 12-year-old, you know, because that's where I was stuck. It was that when first time I got stoned, that's where my emotional maturity ended.
Right.
So, yeah, it took me, you know, I still had a lot of guilt and shame because now I've got to deal with all the other things, all the havoc that I've wreaked. I didn't really see it at the time what I did with Mistral or all the victims that I created.
Right.
I created victims that I'll never even know of. You know, all these kids that were trusting me, they're like, Pappas, you know, they see my picture and then have this inflated idea of whatever, you know, because it's all an illusion.
Right.
When you're looking at the pictures or the things, you know, you see this pro at whatever, it's an illusion. You don't know the real person. You know, and Craig Kelly told me that. One of the first people that said this is all just an illusion, George.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Sean Kearns changed my life. His dedication to mental wellness probably stems from his absolute caring for his fellow human. I've never met another snowboarder that facilitates self-acceptance better than Sean. I'm forever in his debt. The number 2 top moment of 10 years of FNRad is recording with Sean Kearns.
Okay, this is March the 18th, and what's your name?
Eric.
Eric, I knew that. And Sean.
I'm Sean.
Okay, guys.
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
This is perfect. This is a perfect way to start, dude.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm actually somewhat aware of what I'm doing these days, and part of that is actually having to learn how to like the shitty parts of yourself. Like that's the part you don't get to go to Yoga Man and buy Lululemons and all of a sudden become a spiritual leader. It's not the way it works, motherfucker. Like you gotta like the shitty stuff too about yourself, because we all got it.
Yeah.
And so have fun with that one.
My random favorite moments of FNRad are as varied as Jeff Keatley explaining how to train a chimp to snowboard, and just talking about life with Seth Westcott under the stars. Hearing the cricket in the John Boyer episode, and talking dad stuff with Tyler Lepore. Learning that Emmanuel Krebs built the first skate park in Quebec City, and Derek Height builds drones that can lift a chairlift with people on it. FNRad has given me memories and, more importantly, experiences that I wouldn't have had without taking a leap of faith and putting out a snowboard podcast. Smoking a joint with Travis Rice? Seriously? Hearing Joey Maguire talk about his life in Wenatchee?
My uncle owned a gas station since I was a little kid. I mean, ever since I knew him. He started when he was 16. And then they started selling guns. He told me, he says, you know, it's in the States, it's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And when you decide you want to sell alcohol, you check that box. And it's tobacco, is check that box. And if you want to sell some firearms too, you check that box. And then that's your license. So he was already selling, you know, beer and cigarettes in the gas station. And so he's like, I'm going to sell guns too. And that expanded. He closed the gas station. They had a very successful gun shop. But that was where that's where I made any money to pay for gas and entry fees and stuff to continue going to snowboard contests or travel around or do anything. So, he went over. I said, I want to buy that van, man. It was a camper van. I knew I wanted to continue camping it was fully committed to going to snowboard contests. You know, like how could I get there and camp in the parking lot? You know, minimal cost. And so, he bartered a deal. I don't know. He came out. He says, it's going to be $1,800. I was like, right on. I'm in. I don't got any money though. You know, like I'll work it off. I swear. And he's like, oh, yeah, you will. You know? And so, you know, my first paycheck, I think I was about just 14 going on 15 because I had the van for almost a year before I could drive.
Did you drive it
and,
still?
Oh yeah, I drove it. I drove it to school and shit. My mom was pretty lenient on the whole. I had a learner's permit, but she was like, whatever, you know, I don't
You
want.
could get a learner's at 15?
15 and a half is your learner's permit, I think.
Unreal.
And then I drove it a lot more than I should have. In fact, I drove it to Whistler at 15 and a half.
You crossed the border driving a car with a learner's permit
because I had a guy in the passenger seat that was 5 years older than me.
Had his full license.
Which is legitimate.
Yep.
Like, that's your guy,
Totally
right?
legit.
So,
that's awesome.
So my buddy's 5 years older. Once again, my buddy Terry. He's a poor instigator. You know, but and in fact, he tells it to this day. He tells everybody stories like, I was your dad for a whole summer, right? Because my mom was like, if anything happens, Terry can take him to the hospital, you know, whatever. So I drove my van across and we camped out. And I mean, you know, I lived in the parking lot and would cook my dinner and we'd be having top ramen and hanging out or whatever. And Terry'd disappear and I probably wouldn't see him till the morning. But
where would he go?
Well, he'd go to the bars because he could. I was not old enough.
Mike Jacoby sharing his story of bringing his mom to the Olympics was one of my favorite moments I ever recorded.
I had worked a deal with AT&T. If I made the Olympic team, then they would fly my parents over to Japan, put them up as long as I was there, and give them a cell phone for the whole time and give them tickets, whatever they wanted to go to. It was kind of nasty weather for the final qualifier, and as I told my parents, I don't bother coming. I'll just give you a call, you know. And, you know, I called them up and said, pack your bags. So that was a pretty cool phone call that I made, you know. You know, I had a great time at the Olympics, so I'd like to say if anybody had a better time at the Olympics than I did, it would have been my parents.
Rube Goldberg's episode was so fucking rad to me. I still laugh every time I hear his name.
My dad was old school. I mean, 1920 he was born, 1919 maybe. His parents came over from Romania.
Yeah.
Russian Jews came over on a boat. That's what he said. We did an interview with my dad before he passed, and he's like, on a boat. They came over on a boat. Anyways. It's my mom.
Take it. Take it. Yeah, put her on.
What are you doing, bro? So funny.
I'm sitting on. You're on camera right now, so I can't talk. But
okay, well, I just wanted to let you know that I tried a half a joint. I just took a few pops off of it, and it didn't do much for me. So that's why I came upstairs.
all right, well, go to bed then. I guess. What are you gonna do?
Wait a minute. Wait. So what time are you coming home tomorrow?
Probably like 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. And don't forget, on Monday, you have to take me into Whistler.
Yeah, take it easy.
What time is my appointment?
4 o'clock, 4:30.
Why did you make it so
All right, Ma, I gotta go. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, that's so ridiculous.
See you later. Oh my God.
Oh my God, that was so good. Okay, it's time. We've reached the number one moment of the first 10 years of FNRad snowboarding. With all the change that's happened for me, living my 40s, entering my 50s, accepting myself and growing as a human, I'm still the same small-town snowboarding fan I've always been. I've met some of my heroes, and I'm here to tell you the saying don't meet your heroes does not apply if you look up to amazing people. And to a person, every snowboarder I've met has been amazing, period. I love snowboarding. I love the people who love snowboarding. It's that simple. And as a small-town snowboarder from the middle of nowhere with a hill that rises just 60 vertical meters, I can't believe I got to talk to Damian fucking Sanders.
That's when I never felt better. Like when I was looking down and I knew I was going to go higher than everybody else and I knew I had the talent to do it, that was some of the best moments of my life. Like just because all I wanted to do was show up. I just wanted everybody to go, holy shit, did you see that kid? You know? And and I basically killed myself doing it. I mean, that's what it was all about for me. I could care less about the contest. It was just, could I get higher than everybody else and have everybody tell me how high I went. Oh, it was so fun. Back in the day, like at a Squaw Valley half pipe contest, there was like 2 hits in a whole pipe that were even worth hitting. The rest of it was just getting speed for those 2 hits. Mm-hmm. So we would sit there, like strap on our boards, drop in, hit one giant hit. If you made it, you were stoked, and then you hit the second wall. But it was like, get that shot, 12 feet out, and that's all that mattered. Yeah. It was not like it is now where you have to put together 10 flawless hits. It was like you got one big jump in the half pipe and you might win. I remember everybody strapping in, and I'd go 15, 20 feet higher than them to strap in, and they'd be like, what are you doing up there? And then I would just bomb it. That's all I could get. Every ounce of like transition speed I could gyrate out of that sucker to get a bigger air was all I wanted to do. And I came down on the flat top and in the flat bottom. I was just all over the court. I mean, way more balls than talent, and so it's just how high can I get? Yeah, it all came together in shifty editing, so it looks like we're hitting the same jump, and like it cracks me up. Like they'll film a front side 360, and then the landing is from a backside 360 because they clipped it. Like somehow you change direction mid-flight. And that's what, to this day, I never stuck a double backflip, and it drives me crazy. Like, I don't know how many times I tried, and how many times I came out right on my feet and it ate shit because I was like so amazed that I made it around. But like Steve Graham stuck a few of them and just actually rode away with his hands up, and that's what I even like that one big one in Snowboards in Exile. I came down right on my feet, and then I turned like to the backside and ate shit for no reason.
Yeah, you can see that you're coming down and you just got you're going to go 90.
Yeah, all I had to do was freaking land it and right away. But I was like so freaking amazed because when I did it, I didn't have any control over that. I was just hucking and hoping I came out on my feet. Right. And I kind of like judged, okay, if I go this much faster, I think I'll land on my feet. And so I was never like, okay, lay tuck. It was just like huck it and wait. And so when I actually came out on my feet, it was like the world was a blur and just ate shit. So it was going so fast at the time. So I watched that quad cork video that was on recently. I must have watched it 1,000 times just because the way he stalled out that last one was that feeling that I had on so many jumps. Like he did that quad cork, and after 3, you're like, oh shit, he's going for another one, and then he just was able to stall it out. And I used to do that with my backflips. I'd lay it out when I was doing a single, and it was an amazing feeling. So I couldn't imagine what he must feel like doing 4. I mean, just mind blowing. And it was just so flawless and phenomenal. It brought back so many memories for me. Like the feeling I got watching that was like I was there again. So cool. I mean, when you used to see the skiers get ready for their big triple cork things back in the day, or their triple twisted backflips, and they would run through it in their head, and they were like having a seizure on the mountain before they hit the jump, with their eyes closed. You're like, that is such a different world from what we would just like. Okay, I'm just going to hit it with speed and huck. And so that's kind of what snowboarding has become. You can actually run through this in your head, and if you leave on this heel at this trajectory, you're going to do 3. And just nuts. So when I saw Art of Flight, is when I first really was introduced to who Travis Rice is, because I was so out of the scene. I wasn't paying attention, and so when I saw that, I was like, who the hell is this guy? And all those guys were phenomenal, but he just had a power about him.
Yeah, he stands out.
Cool.
That's who you were. That's who you were to me in 1990.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. That's awesome.
But there's no chance in hell that I would ever be a Damian Sanders. It's not
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Right on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I had a little nostalgia there.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Thanks to all the sponsors and supporters and fans who've given money, prizes, words of support, or even just listened in. Next week, I'll have the final episode of Season 10. Be sure to come back for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Flojoy Water and brought to you by FNRad Productions. Pro Standard makes the grill mount the best mount for your Insta360 GoPro or DJI camera. It's a heat moldable mouth mount, tripod, hand grip, hook mount, bottle mount, wall mount, clamp mount, glove mount, and shoe mount designed by snowboard legend Ken Ockenbach to get you the perfect angle for snowboarding, surfing, biking, and it'll replace 90% of your other mounts. Use code FNRAD to get 20 off your first order at prostandard.com.